evening, everyone. How's it going? All right, I am here tonight. We are going to be doing a tutorial run. As you might have noticed recently, the last couple videos anyways, I've gone back to some of the Tealight holders that I've already created, and I'm going to be doing maybe 2 or 3 of selected versions, right? So the ones that, the patterns that are most popular. And tonight is no exception. I'm actually going to go back and do, let me think, I do believe it is number 8 in the series. Initially, the one that I'm doing is the black with the teal and light blue. Tonight, I'm actually going to do a set. I don't know that I'm going to manage to get both of these done tonight, but I did create a set. These are going to be autumn colors. The reason I really want to do a set right up front on these ones is I imagine because they're Tealights that, you know, they would be in a set, maybe sitting on somebody's Thanksgiving table. So, all right, I have already pre-drawn out the grid. The other thing that I've done that I didn't show in my initial video were these circles here. Now for the circles, the absolute easiest way that I've found to do these and the quickest is with my helix. Now, what I did, I used a standard grid, right in point, and drew out the lines. Now for the circles, I actually grabbed, I do believe it was the 3/8. Yeah. And here's the cool thing about this. So since I drew out all of these lines and I wanted to make the circles in between, what I did is just select the circle that was the best fit. Actually, the 2/8, take that back. Okay, and then I'm going to put my finger into here so you can see this better. Do you see these little arrows, the little black arrows on each of these circles? All of the circles have them, even the larger ones. Oh, that makes my life so much easier. Because now, if I just want to take, for example, let's just take here. If I wanted to draw a circle here, what I can do, just like I did here, is lay this over and I'm like, oh, well, okay, it fits in between the lines, but how am I going to get this centered? That's what the lines are for. So then you just take the black arrows, line them up, okay, on either your vertical or your horizontal lines that you already have. So you could use it, for example, here, right? And then just move that as you need to. Ta-da, okay? If you wanted to center it right in the smack here, okay, then you just curve it, move it however you need to until all those arrows line up and you've got it perfect. Okay, so that's what I did on both of these. Let me get rid of that helix, get it out of the way. Now then, the first one that I did came out a little bit cockeyed, so I'll hopefully fix that. In front of me, in addition to the tool that I grabbed here, this is just the nail art stylus. This is a 0.5, 1.5 end. I use the 0.5 end for all my swooshes, and I will be actually I'll probably use it not only just for a double swoosh, you know, for a 2-tool swoosh, but also just standalone tonight. Okay, so keep something handy. I've got my happy company. Wow, I'm at it tonight. Happy Dotting Company tools. I'm only gone up to a 6. Okay, so the largest one I have in front of me is a 6, and I don't believe I'm going to be actually using a 6. Okay, I'm going to scoot those up and just out of my way. All right, let's get a good clean section of my palette. The base color on this, actually, you know what? I don't have it in front of me. Let me grab it out of my handy dandy shelf in front of me. Well, maybe. There we go. I've used Spiced Berry because I like this deep color. Not quite a burgundy. Okay, a little bit of brown. And then for the middle, I've got the Glorious Gold. I'm going to keep a hold of this Glorious Gold because we're going to be using that in the pattern. And then for my fall colors, again, these are all deco art. I've got these 3, the Burnt Orange, Saffron, Yellow, and the Hauser. I don't use anything but Hauser Green, I think. I'm so sorry. That might be super boring to a few people. Okay. I'm going to get these shook up just a little bit. Let me get some put in my palette. All right. I love the saffron yellow. You know what? I got a drop of that orange in this well that I want to use. And normally I'd be like, whatever. But you know what's going to happen? I'm not going to pay attention to it and it's going to mix. Okay. Beautiful colors. Okay. I'm going to hang on to the gold. I'm not going to put that in my palette yet because I likely will go ahead and just use those for top dots. We'll see how it goes. First and foremost, all right, let me get this a little closer to me here. All right, I'm going to start with a 1.5. I'm going to do my best to follow the same pattern. Okay. The same pattern that I had originally done with the teal one. Okay, so it's going to be, again, the same pattern, just different colors. So let's see. What I think I want to do, let's see here. I'm kind of debating because I know that the orange is just a shade off of this spice that I've used. And I would love to use that one first, except, I don't know, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, right? Let's just go for it. Okay, I usually start with the darkest color in, so let's just do it. And again, this is a 1.5 that I'm using. And these are flat-headed tools. So if you're using the styluses, make sure that you're adjusting. The flat-headed tools are typically larger. They're the normal size, quote unquote. But your stylus is a 1.5 is going to be a slightly smaller dot than the flathead. Now I know these dots are very small, but if you do decide that you want them a little bigger, which is perfectly fine, again, just keep in mind that you may need, if you're going to follow along exactly, that you may need to scale another dot, maybe back a half a size, for example, something like that, just to make sure that everything fits in appropriately. Okay. And if yours doesn't look exactly like mine does as you're going through, don't worry about it. Okay. Really, this is more inspiration than, you know, step by step, right? We're not trying to do color by number here. And if you're going through and you're like, oh, I don't like that, right? If there is something that I'm doing that you don't particularly like, then don't use it, right? Change the color, change the size, whatever you want to do. Make it your own. There's absolutely no such thing as screwing this up. Just don't panic if you're trying to recreate it exactly and it doesn't turn out exact. It's like I was mentioning the tool sizes, that can throw a lot of this off. If you don't have the exact same stencil or grid lines that I have, that's going to throw it off, right? So don't worry about it. There. I'm going to go up a full size to a 2.5, and I'm going to go into the yellow now. One thing I will mention while we're just doing these little dots here. One of the reasons I like this saffron yellow instead of maybe one a slightly different shade is that thus far it's done a pretty good job of not needing a second coat or a top dot. The opaqueness is pretty good here. So there's that one. All right, now we need to do a few larger ones. I'm thinking it's probably a 5. One of the things that unfortunately I've never really done on these ones anyways is my pattern. I didn't actually draft a pattern on these. I'm pretty sure it was a 5. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead with that. Let's go ahead and get some. I want the green in here, but I don't want too much. of the green in here. And if I look at my original pattern, I'm going to substitute the white that I had in the pattern for the green. And this one was actually white. All right, so we're gonna pick one. And we're gonna do every other line. And then let's do 2.5. Now we need to get in our swooshes. Okay, let's do those. The orange. Okay, so I'm going to take a 2.5 dot and I'm going to put that on top here. So again, your lines might not be exactly matching mine, but at least for mine, that 2.5 dot brings us up to the second row, line, whatever. Okay. Now, okay, now I'm going to take the rounded edge, which is the 1.5 of the stylus. Gonna dip that in really well. And just follow the curve. And I'm not wiping the tool off in between, nothing like that. So the key is just make 100% sure that you've got enough paint on the tip here and that you're using the appropriate size tool, because we want enough paint to be able to go all the way around without having to redip or make an adjustment. Okay, so once you lay it here, you can actually touch the surface if that helps to steady your hand, which I found in the beginning really does. Okay, so you can touch that. And then just ever so lightly drag around. Okay. All right. And if you find yourself having to go back, then you either A, have used a tool size that's too small, or you don't have enough paint. If when you're doing the swoosh with the stylus and you're not getting this nice little point or tip at the end, you're kind of getting a blob, that basically means that the tool that you're using is too large for the area that you're trying to fill. I don't really believe that there's necessarily going to be too much paint on your tool. I mean, as long as you're not going to be like really digging in there and dipping it up, you shouldn't have to worry about that like at all. All right, So now that we've got that in there, let's go into, let me take a look at the spacing here real quick. I can probably, how do we want to do that? Now the original, I only had one row of dots here. Just thinking how we want to do this. What I might consider, actually, I'm not even sure if I did that originally. Let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to take back up the 5. We're just going to do that again. I'm just going to fill the spaces here, and I'm going to do that again. So this is a 5. Two and a half. And then the 1-5 again. Sorry to go back on that. I was like 100% convinced that I had done alternating lines in the first one. And then after I did that, I just now looked at the original, well, an image of the original, because my actual original is already packed. And yeah, I don't think I did that. Okay. Just really light touches. You can touch the surface. You can glide it along. You don't have to pretend to float. Now we need to get a dot of a different color in between. Let me see. I think we wanted it pretty close, so let's do a 4. Now this one gets to be bright yellow. And keep in mind as I'm doing this, there's going to be a lot of gold accents coming into this, so although it kind of looks flat and weird right now, it won't at the end, I promise. All right, so again, I'm using a 4. And the touches that I'm making to the surface are very, very light. And that allows me a little more control. Okay, so when I go down, the farther down I push, the fatter the dot is going to get, right? So since I'm filling a space, if I need a little bit less, if it's a little smaller space, then I just don't push it down farther, right? I can just tap it and get a very small dot, right? I can push it out right up to the edges. It's another reason why I'm not wiping off my tool either. That gives me a little bit of extra paint on the head of the tool to play with. Okay. Because as long as I don't just immediately go down with the tool, I have that wiggle room. I can literally move in any direction. So you have a lot more control than you think. All right, so there's that one. We're gonna wipe off the 4. Now, in the original, I had actually used the, let me see if I can find it real quick, the S tool, or the E tool. Why did I say S? But I don't really want to use that in this one. What I'm gonna do instead, because I did make 3 dots though. So let's see. I can get away with probably a 2 and then a micro dot on either side, which is what I think I'll do. And I did those in the same color last time. So I'm just going to get this 2 as close to the middle between those as I can. That oval tool is really nice, but I realize not everybody has that. So this is just a little easier. And let's see if I can get a 1, or if we want to go a 0.5. Oh no, we can do a 1. Looks like we can do a 1. So just a little bitty crown there. It's almost just like, you know, the top of a walked dot series. I am so sorry too. Anybody that was looking for like a super quick, I mean, with these small dots, yeah, this one's going to take a little longer. I'm sorry. If you're like me, it's really meditative though. It's really nice. Just calm in the chaos, right? I mean, after a while, granted, I go a little cross-eyed. I'll need a break. And usually I only paint for about an hour and a half at a time at any given time. And then I either go take a rest or break for the day. So if this is not something that someone can sit and finish in all in one go, I completely get that. All right, now what I want to do is the swooshes, we're going to move up into the circles. And I'm going to take a quick look at the original because I want to see if there's maybe a better way to do that. And I don't really think there is. Okay. Let me tip this spray. Just a tiny bit. And again, I can't remember, not for the life of me, what tool size I had actually used there. I'm gonna guess it's probably a 3. Could be a 2. I don't think it's a 2.5. Okay, let's just go a 3. We're back into this orange, into the burnt orange. And with these swooshes though, I'm gonna use the 2 tool method instead of just the other. Because I'm going to be following this curve here, well, you know, I suppose I could try it. Let me see here. I just don't know if I'm gonna, I think I prefer it with the 2. Okay. If you want to, feel free to do it with just the 1. Okay, but here's what we're gonna do. Ooh, no, not green. Got green in my head looking at that tool. All right. A lot of swooshes. A lot of swooshes coming up. Okay. So I'm gonna put a dot right here. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. If you can't, when I've made the circle here, it touches this line, and so I've put the dot right where the circle and the line intersect. Okay. And then to do this, I'm taking the tip of the tool, kind of getting it wet in the middle of this one, okay? Midline of the center, and then literally just dragging it around the tool, around the circle, okay? And then taking the tool, and I'm just gonna round this edge off here. So again, from the midline, I'm just gonna pull a little bit of paint down in to make it look like a comma. Now with these, every now and again, I'm just going to be tapping this tool just to get it clean. I've just got my wet washcloth over there, my rag, over on the right hand side of me. Every couple, I'm just going to go in and clean this off. Otherwise, it'll start to build up paint. And see, just like this one has a much wider base than this one or this one, right? It's not that big of a difference where I care too much, but if you continue, it's just going to get bigger and bigger, right? Because the paint buildup. And the tip of these is so small that it makes a big difference pretty quickly. And then I want this edge down here to be really thin. So again, I'm only taking the rounded tip, probably about to the midline of that circle. I am going to do it on both sides of the circle, but being right-handed, it's just easier to kind of do all the right-hand sides first. One of the reasons I like this design, this pattern with the circles, was because if you remember, or if you've seen the number, what is it, 8? I keep getting it confused. Whatever one it was in the series, the teal one. What I wanted it to do in the end was make that cute little kind of curtain effect over this dot series here. That's why I wanted to do this one again. I love that. That looked just awesome. And it just kind of came about, I wouldn't say completely accidentally, but pretty much. Came out a lot better actually than what I had in my head. And then I keep referencing the original one. And if you're confused, I actually used the initial thumbnail for that one. I'll go ahead and take a new picture of this one when I'm completed with it and replace that once this one gets published for later. So you can check that one out in the series. All right, let's go into, let's see. Let's get this side done. And yell if I get in your way and you can't see anything, or if I happen to pull this a little close. Sometimes I shift things towards me and I don't even realize it, so. Hopefully this shows up enough too. One of the reasons I like doing these tea light holders too is because the paint is usually dry by the time you get back around to the side you started on. Makes it so much easier for me to lay my hand down in it. Don't have to worry about my hand getting covered in paint and screwing everything up. Okay. Skipped over one there, didn't I? Do that again so I have a little bit of room for my hand. Didn't I tell you we were going to do a bunch? Small, oh, excuse me, small stuff and lots of swooshes. Lots and lots of practice if you're not great at them yet. There. Quickly glance over, make sure I actually didn't forget any. Wouldn't be the first time. All right, now we need to do a second one. And you're like, what? I just finished those. Yeah, I'm sorry. We're doing another one. Okay. And yeah, I think I'm going to stick with the same. Same size? Yeah. Just kind of visualizing here because I want to make sure that there's enough. Yeah, there's going to be enough room. Okay. We are going to do the yellow. We're going to stay in the same size. So again, we're in a 3. This one, we're just going to lower it ever so slightly. Okay. So it's just going to be slightly diagonal from this one. Okay, so essentially this is where the original dot was, and it's just going to go, the top of this dot would meet where this bottom would have been. Okay, so if that helps. And then what I'm going to do for this one, basically the same thing. Okay, I'm just going to draft this down here. The only difference, it's going to look a little straighter because we're going to pull it as far as we can to the center line. Oops, sorry. Don't want to move the Lazy Susan. I want to move the piece so that it's tipped up just a little. Okay. I can move the camera down a little bit and so you get more of an angle this way. Let me know if that's easier. And see, this color is pretty good too. I mentioned that earlier, one of the reasons I like this color. And so even stretching it out with these swooshes, I can't see the spiced berry underneath. definitely a little slower to do these small ones, but it's going to be really nice at the end. And so the circle that we worked around, there is going to be a couple of dots that are going to fill up this circle. I actually just found though that instead of doing it the other way around, because I thought about that too, putting the dots here and then curving them around them, which absolutely works. But I don't want to say problem. I hesitate to say problem with that because it's not a problem. Just not the design I was looking for. Because I wanted it open a little more. I wanted this center open more than if I had just put the dots in here and then pulled them around. Because if I had done that, these dots, or swooshes, sorry. The swooshes that I'm doing now would have been more diamond shaped, which is very pretty. Don't get me wrong. But again, this makes them more open, more, I don't know, petal shaped. I don't want to, I don't know. Just more open. Let's see. There. Wipe everything off. We'll go to the other side here. Now, theoretically, we should be touching with those two. Okay. As these dry, I may come back in and touch up a couple. Just to make sure they look nice and dark. Like, for example, this one here, a little light on the edge. Just put a little extra paint in there. Oops. For whatever reason, I keep wanting to skip. Make 100% sure again that I didn't miss any. Okay, I'm going to wipe off that 3 tool. Okay, and I'm going to take this one and let's go through real quick. Just make sure everybody is all looking good. Okay. I really want that nice and bright. Okay. That one's fine, that one's fine. This one could use a little bit of an extension there. Okay, what do I think? Good. Yep. Oh, these ones kind of faded. Let's see. I'll try that again. There. Okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, what we want to do is make that kind of little curtain here. I adjusted the size from the original because I think instead of these on the side being both 3, I think I did a 3 and maybe like a 2.5, something like that. And so I had an extra dot that was essentially like here in between them. And I don't need that now. So let's see what I could do though. No, not that big. Let's see. Just that little space. There is a tiny little spot right here in this crevice. That's a 2.5. I think that's going to be good. Okay. So let's take the green. Well, you know what? Okay. I was thinking of the green, but you know what? This would be a really good time to put in some sparkle. Because we don't want the gold only on top, right? Okay, so I'm gonna get the gold. And we're going to go in here with the 2.5. And I'm going to say a 1.5. That should be good. Clean off my tool a little here. I notice I got some stuff still on it. Okay. Then I've got a 1.5 and we're going to do a walk. Actually, let's see. Yeah. And we're just going to follow the bottom on both sides. Let's see. Sorry, I'm going to be in your way. For me, that's 4 dots. There we go. Yep, I like that. Okay. So now it gives us kind of, I don't know, I call it a curtain effect because that's the first thing that it reminded me of. On the original one, this particular dot was a little more pronounced. It was up here, and so these really came down over it and really look like a curtain. Okay, so I'm going to leave that like that. Now, let me adjust this just a little so it's straight. Okay, and I think we were in a 4. Let's see. It's okay if it's a little bit larger. All right, I'm going to take a 4 and we're going to go back in the green and we're going to start filling in these circles now at this point. Okay, so the first one, I'm going to put all the first ones down instead of just doing them together. Okay. So I just want to nestle this right in the bottom. As close as I can get without overlapping Let it really touch the bottom. Now, if we do another 4, let me make sure that's going to come right at the top of that. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we're going to do another 4. Okay, I'm just going to set that directly on top. If everything worked out okay, then we should have no problems. This dot should not be in the way or overlapping the orange ones on either side. And again, at this point, you don't have to follow the tool size exactly. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. So for example, if the 2 orange ones for you don't fit a 4, go down to a 3.5 or even a 3 or whatever. Because even though I'm using 2 dots of the same size, it would look perfectly fine, for example, if you used one larger or one smaller. Just as long as it's the same all the way around, right? It doesn't matter. Okay, now I'm going to take probably a 1. Yeah, let's go with the 1, and I'm gonna go ahead and do, let's do the golden here. Just tuck that between the 2 dots, between the 2 green ones. There. Next thing we need to do is get a dot in here, and I think that's probably going to be a 5. Yep, that's going to be a 5. We probably want to make this orange. Now again, same thing here. Use whatever tool size actually fits. If it isn't a 5, then use something else. After I do this row, I'm going to be tipping the tea light up again so you can actually see. Get that wiped off. Hopefully that's a little better for the view. Okay, and now I think we did another same sized. Okay, so that's another 5. We're gonna stay again in the same orange. Gonna need a little more on my palette here in a second. See if I've got enough left to get through this. Since there's never a whole lot in the palette, I find that at about an hour mark, hour and a half mark, my paint is starting to dry up on the edges. You can see that here. I've kind of got this little well going of wet paint in the middle. All right, I have enough. There. Now we're going to do some walk dots. Get that wiped off. I want to make these a little chunkier. So then I'm going to start with a 3. And let's see. Let's make sure that gold is on the outside. So let's do yellow and then we can do the gold. So 3 here. Make sure I didn't wipe off anything on the other side here. Now, since that was a 3, I'm going to go into a 2 to do the actual walk itself. You know what? Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and move you guys a little bit. Hopefully that's a little bit better as far as the view is concerned. Okay. 2. Now we're going to move up to a 4. And I'm going to do these gold. Actually, you know what? I wonder. There is one more element that I wanted to put in here, and maybe that element should be gold, but then we're going to be talking green here. No, you know what? We can do it gold. Just live with it. All right, unfortunately, I think. Okay. Hold on a second. I think I'm going to have to hold this. All right, so let's come back in here. There. It's just getting to the point near the bottom here. We're not even. My little tilted hack is going to work to be able to see anything for you and me. Okay, so. I'm going to try to do this as quick as I can. It's not very great on my wrist. Let's try to hold this up. But it is what it is. I'm going to make this one a little larger. Oops. Okay, we're just going to move down a whole size into a 3. See if I can get a good place to put my hand here. And there's only one more element to cover after this, so I promise we're almost done. I'm trying to hurry without hurrying. If that makes any sense. Give my wrist a little bit of a break, and then we have just the very last elements to go in between these. Let's see. Try to put my thing back here as a rest, perhaps. That will work. Okay. I'm gonna add a smidge more gold to my palette, just so I have a little bit more to work with. Looks like this is going to be a 5. Oh, you know what? That's not. Let's do a 4. Okay, so this is a 4. Right at this line here that I have. So I'm putting 1 dot on either side of it. And then I'm going to put 1 in between. See if I can kind of get these straight. Okay. My hand needs a rest, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to do these like this. Okay. There. Okay. Let's get that sat down in the middle here again. Now there are a few places where I'd kind of like some gold. This is going to be a nightmare, but I'm going to do it anyways. All right. I am taking the 0.5 end and doing these dots here. I'm putting in a bit of paint on my tool in hopes that I can get away with doing 2 dots per dip instead of just 1. And I'm bringing that gold dot all the way to the end of this. I really like doing the metallics right up against the rim here, just to catch the light of the candle when it's in it. I honestly don't know if most people use battery operated now or a true Tealight. It's a good question. I might actually post that question up on my community tab. So you know what? If you're here now, if you've made it this far,